Hey, it's me, Ian from the Postal Hub Podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
We are the Last Mile Prophets. And today, Marek, it's been a couple of weeks since we last talked about the pandemic and how it has impacted on parcel volumes and what it means for the delivery world. Now that we're, again, 2 weeks, it seems like a long time in COVID world, doesn't it? But with basically a lot of posts and parcel operators are saying, well, their parcel volumes are doubled. We are in peak.
I've got some news from Poland, and together with my pals from Last Mile Experts, I think we're going to do a post on this. But basically, pretty much all of the successful carriers, the ones who are B2C centric, have got 2021 plans for peak more or less sewn up this year.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. There's a huge dichotomy coming up whereby the guys who are B2C centric are really seizing the opportunity, and the guys who have legacy B2B thinking are failing.
There was a question posed on LinkedIn by our friend Marshall Hughes, and he said part of the problem when it comes to some of the congestion that parcel operators, in particular posts, are facing is their inability to say no. Their inability to say no to business. What do you reckon about that?
Well, let's be fair with posts. They are in a very difficult
Posts
situation.
are in a different position. If a post starts saying no to volume, although we saw DHL Parcel in Germany effectively throttling the volume and saying, look, we've only got limited capacity. What do you think?
Posts have their service obligations. So it's specific. Maybe sometimes they can when they really have no choice. But from my perspective, it shouldn't be the case. And if we think, maybe take a step further about the post-COVID world, unless some things change fast, we're going to have this issue coming up constantly. And think fast means, I keep coming back to this, what the Chinese have done. But to be honest, those guys are super smart. They've realized the only way they can deliver that capacity is to change the model.
So if we see that... because there's some talk, that in, say, the Northern Hemisphere right now might be coming to the end of this peak with the pandemic. There could be a level of, and there's potentially another peak once we get into the colder weather in the Northern Hemisphere. There could be a second outbreak. How are you going to plan for this? How can a parcel operator or a postal operator plan for this if we're going to see this really flexible sort of ordering from customers? I mean, if the shackles are taken off in Europe soon and people can go outside again, are they just going to go crazy and buy from shops and not buy online? What's going to happen?
I think, Ian, it's pretty simple, because if you take away all the reasons, because whether it's caused by COVID or other demand-based issues, at the end of the day, it's all about how can you supply or deliver in the last mile significantly more parcels. And it's not rocket science. When you have labor shortage, you have congestion, the only way you can do it today is more parcels per stop, more successful stops first time. And actually, that's it, isn't it?
Well, because things like, remember the Amazon Day initiative?
Yes.
Where all your orders would come in on the one day, all your Amazon orders. And I know that Australia Post tried something very similar a couple of years ago, just in one regional part of Australia, where they consolidate customers' delivery so they'd get their parcels on one day. And it was a trial that never went any further. But I'm not sure that there's the capacity in sorting centres to be able to consolidate people's deliveries. They want to get orders out the door. If you're an e-commerce fulfillment center, you want to get out the door. If you're a delivery center, you want to get stuff out the door as quickly as possible. So
I think, Ian, assuming that it's not coordinated in some manner, there could be issues. Because I remember Avon used to have a situation in my old DPD days where they used to have a preferred day that they'd like all of their deliveries in country X to be on day one, which of course completely messed up the operations. But I think if there are millions of people like Ian and Marek and others, and theoretically we choose different days, or perhaps we try to coerce the consignee to choose a day which we know is a low volume day with some special prices or other offers, I think it can all be done. But Ian, if you think about it, what is that? It's about the Amazon Day is about more parcels per stop.
Right.
So in a way, it's a hybrid of our PUDO option. At the same time, if you have an RPL, residential parcel locker, in an apartment building, you achieve the same thing. Instead of going to individual apartments, which is the case in Europe. In the US, they have concierge rooms, so it's a little bit different. But generally speaking, everything is about more parcels per stop, successful first-time delivery, and actually the rest are things that you can help. You can make the routes more efficient. We talked to our mates at Urbans recently, and we talked about how you can, make that route more efficient. But those are secondary things. The really big picture, for me, is about first-time delivery, parcels per stop.
I get the feeling that there is a limit as to how much you can do just by throwing people at this problem. Because we see that every year the hiring surge in the USA is just some mind-boggling figures. The US Postal Service will hire this many. UPS, FedEx and Amazon will hire huge numbers of people. But we live now in an era of social distancing. So just throwing people at the problem doesn't seem to be the answer. So technology seems to be the logical way to try and address some of these capacity-related problems.
Ian, I can give you a real example. I won't harp back on our Chinese one, but let's take one from Europe. So our pals in Romania at Same Day, they have the only significant locker network in their country. And guess what? Post-COVID, they are just absolutely, raking in the parcels and the opportunities because they're able to deal with them. So, I think you're right. There's a limit. Too many, people actually can be counterproductive. I think we're probably running out of time today, but this is a super cool subject, and let's get people's views.
So comment below. Tell us what you think. What do you think is going to be the post-COVID reality? Are we going to see another peak? Will that peak coincide with our regular peak at the end of the year? What will happen if we have two peaks that happen at once? How are we going to cope with social distancing and all these things? Comment below. Please continue to join the conversation. I have a feeling, Marek, we're going to be revisiting this topic very soon. Marek Różycki from Last Mile Experts, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Last Mile Profits.
Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also the notifications bell so you get a notification every time we add a new video to this channel. Look forward to sharing more stuff with you on The Last Mile Profits.